And welcome back to the Daily Dribble podcast, guys. As always, I'm your host, Nick Zammit, here with another massive episode as we get ever closer to Christmas. Often dubbed the most magical time of year, I'm certainly buying into that this year. Not so much because of the presents or the food or, the time off work or the alcohol, anything like that, but because with that becomes the NBA trade season. I truly believe the NBA trade season is the gift that keeps on giving. Personally, as a content creator, a basketball content creator, I love the on-court action. I could watch basketball all day, every day, non-stop, 247, 365. But what I love so much about the NBA and the NBL here in Australia, there's always something happening off the court. And I find that just as intriguing, just as exciting. And absolutely, I think certainly the biggest part of that is the trade season. Now, today we're going to shine a little bit of a light on some of the trades that have gone down thus far, as well as some of the biggest rumors that have gone down over the course of the last week or so. Certainly some big names potentially on the move, some league-altering moves could be coming, but certainly looking forward to touching base on those very, very shortly. Also, I'll go through... It's a bit of a big one. I was going to put it in odds and ends. I've decided to slide it down to MVP of the week. I've got a big talking point there. A head honcho in the league's made a drastic change that I think is for the better, but we'll touch on that as well. Just quickly, I want to shout out both Stadium Scene and The Cover, both those networks continuing to showcase my work here at the Daily Dribble, as well as a whole host of other content creators in and around Australia, New Zealand, the US, and Canada. Their hard work and support of me certainly means the world to me. I couldn't keep doing what I'm doing without their support, so it's very much appreciated. Okay, before we get into the heavy hitting stuff, just got a couple of quick odds and ends here that I wanted to touch on very, very quickly. Starting first and foremost with the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, it's been a funny year for them. They started horrifically. It looked as if their season was almost over. The injuries were piling up. They've somehow been able to claw things back. They're only a game and a half outside the play-in picture at the moment, currently at 8-16 on the season. But it's been a pretty ordinary week for them. Their MVP man, the head honcho there, Joel Embiid, has suffered a sinus fracture. This occurred in their loss versus the Pacers last Saturday. He's set to be reevaluated in 1 week. So the time frame isn't extremely lengthy for this one. As I said, reevaluated at that point. The 76ers will certainly hope that it's nothing more than this. Now, Embiid's only played 6 games across the season, certainly been a big factor as to their poor start to the season. They need him back fit and firing. He's the barometer for this team. For as good as Paul George is, for as good as Tyrese Maxey is, some of their other role players really, really competent as well. This team will go as far as Embiid takes them. And if he's not on the court, they're not going to go very far. Granted, it's still early in the season, but just with his track record of injuries and game time missed, it doesn't fill you with a lot of confidence. Again, hopefully this is only a week or so, can get back on the court. But it is troubling if you're a Philadelphia 76ers fan, just, the track record of injuries there. Now, this was compounded by some other big news for Philly during the week. Rookie of the Year, Jared McCain, is being announced as being out indefinitely after an MRI revealed a lateral meniscus tear in his left knee. Now, he's set to undergo surgery on this one and will be on the shelf for a considerable amount of time. Up until this point in the season, his rookie campaign, he'd been averaging 15 points, 2.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists, and was shooting the 3 ball at 38.3%. This is a huge loss for Philly. He had really stepped up, was showing really promising signs, and looked great when he was starting, and really played some pivotal minutes whilst Maxey, George, Embiid, these other heavy hitters have been out. In the Rookie of the Year race now, though, Stephen Castle from the Spurs, Yves Missy from the Pelicans, and Dalton Connect from the Lakers are the current 3 favourites there for Rookie of the Year. Because up until the injury, it looked like McCain was probably going to run away with it pretty convincingly. As I said, a big loss there for the Pelicans. Just kind of compounds their issues and just kind of almost sums up what their season's been to this point. So speedy recovery from there. Really liked what I saw, and certainly hope he can be back fit and firing next season. And just finally, in a very little quick odds and ends segment here, we have our 2024 Emirates NBA Cup champion. The Bucks are this year's champions. It was a pretty hotly contested little matchup in the final against OKC. Was really back and forth throughout the first quarter. The Thunder led by 1 at the end of the first there, with Isaiah Hartenstein and SGA kind of firing from the word go. Both had 10 points at the end of the quarter. By halftime, though, the roles had been reversed. The Bucks held that 1-point lead, 51-50. But then early in the third, they really pulled away, broke out into a double-digit lead, and held a 13-point lead heading into the last quarter there. They really held their nerve well, ran out pretty convincing winners there, 97-81. SGA, he dropped 21 points, whilst Isaiah Hartenstein had 16 points, 12 rebounds. Damian Lillard can now call himself an NBA champion, with asterisks around that. He had 23 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and went 5 of 10 from 3. Whilst the MVP, Giannis Antetokounmpo, had 26 points, 19 rebounds, 10 assists, 2 steals, and 3 blocks. An absolutely monster game there. I thought it was a fantastic tournament as a whole. Just added that little bit more intrigue and kind of broke up the monotony a little bit of an 82-game season. I think it's been a fantastic initiative. It's only going to grow in stature as the years go by. But yeah, really, really well done to the Bucks there. I think for them at the moment, they're starting to look like a legit threat as we move into the latter stages of the regular season and into the playoffs. This is kind of what we envisioned. This duo are really starting to click now there, Lillard and Giannis. And despite not playing in the game the other day against the Thunder, Chris Middleton coming off the bench, I think, is quite a handy little move there, and I think could potentially bring the best out of him. But yeah, they're starting to build nicely. It was a slow start to them for the season. Things are starting to click there in Milwaukee, and I think that'd be quite a headache, should you match up with them in the playoffs. Okay, guys, just before we push ahead, I just want to give another shout out to our partners. Now, the link to all these in our show notes and on our socials, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok there in the bios. Kamikaze Energy still continuing to provide the goods there. As I've said numerous times, you don't need wings when you have Kamikaze Energy. They've been continuing to fuel these episodes week in and week out. You can go get 15% off your next order via that link there in the description. You're not only helping me in the show out, but I can certainly personally guarantee you will see a considerable improvement in your performance. I know from first-hand experience, it's taken my running to the next level, and I'm sure you'll have similar results. Likewise, a new partner, a new sponsor's just come on board that's developing as we speak, LSKD. Not LSD, LSKD. That one letter makes an awful amount of difference there. But LSKD are an Australian-owned and operated brand that provides high-quality functional streetwear with a street aesthetic. Now, their motto is they strive to be 1% better every day, and I think that's a great motto to live by. If anyone wants some last-minute Christmas ideas for me, I'm certainly got my eye on at the moment their Rep 5-inch lined performance shorts. I think that would do just nicely for me at the moment. As I said, I've really been getting into the running lately. What did I do? I think I did 44 Ks the other week and 35 Ks last week. Nursing a little bit of an injury at the moment to the ankle, but certainly looking forward to getting back out and pounding the pavement very soon. And hopefully in these Rep 5-inch lined performance shorts. Fantastic stuff there, guys. Go check them out. Incredible products, Australian owned and operated. Support the show and support yourself by shopping LSKD. Check that link in the show notes and on any of our socials. Right, let's push on.
The Daily Dribble.
Woo! Okay, guys, as I said, the most magical time of year. Yes, partly because it is Christmas, but it is also the NBA trade season. As I've said, the gift that keeps on giving. I honestly think it is almost as exciting as the on-court action. All the rumors, all the debates, all the potential what-ifs, the maybes. It really is quite enthralling, and as a content creator, serves as really valuable content. So I'm really looking forward to discussing some of these key talking points with you now. Now, the trade deadline, guys, it does end on the 6th of February. Be sure, in the meantime, up until that point and beyond, follow all the socials, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok to get all those latest updates and trades as they come to fruition. Okay, first and foremost, just want to start with, I saw the other day from the Athletics, Sam Vecini, his NBA trade board. Now, he's given 10 names, the top 10 players most likely to be dealt via the deadline there on the 6th of February. I'm going to start from number 1 to number 10, just rattle through these names. Starting first and foremost, you had Jimmy Butler, Zach LaVine, Cam Johnson, Brandon Ingram, DeAndre Hunter, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Bruce Brown, Colin Sexton, Robert Williams III, and Dorian Finney-Smith. Now, as I said, these are names he thinks most likely will be moved on before the deadline. Tell you what, there's some big names within that, and certainly players that would, move the needle for a lot of championship aspiring teams. Undoubtedly, you look towards Jimmy Butler, LaVine, Johnson, Ingram. They are all big game players and would certainly have a positive impact for any team they went to. Really excited to see how that plays out. And out of those 10, how many actually go on the move? I'll speak about a few of them momentarily. Pardon me. Now, there have been a couple of trades that have gone down thus far. Undoubtedly, the biggest one involves the Brooklyn Nets and the Golden State Warriors. In this trade, the Golden State Warriors received Dennis Schroder and 1 second-round pick, whilst in return, the Brooklyn Nets received DeAnthony Melton and 3 second-round picks. Huge trade, this one. For the Warriors, they get one of the best role players in the league this season. Schroder in Brooklyn has been electric. He's had some huge performances, and across the season thus far is averaging 18.5 points, 3 rebounds, 6.5 assists, and 1 steal per game. At 31 years of age, he still has plenty to offer any championship aspiring team. I think he's going to be a perfect backup there behind Steph Curry, depending whether they look to slot him in the starting lineup or if they bring him off the bench. I think he'll complement Steph really, really well there. For the Nets, I think they did themselves a bit of a disservice here. I think given the way he's been playing and kind of the stocks in Schroder at the moment, they could have got more for him. Now, Brooklyn received a high quantity of assets, you'd say, but not a high quality. 3 second rounders, I think, is pretty average. That probably won't eventuate to much. I really feel they could have done better here. In addition to that, DeAnthony Melton, he's out for the season with a partially torn ACL, set to hit free agency in 2025. So I doubt that we'll see him suit up as a Net. I think this is a big win for the Warriors. As I said, for the Nets, it's just essentially acquiring assets as they kind of embrace that rebuild. But I certainly think they could have done a better job in just getting higher quality assets there. On Brooklyn, though, it feels as if Schroder is that first domino to fall there. Cam Johnson and Dorian Finney-Smith are 2 names that are expected to be on the move. 2 names that I mentioned just a moment ago on Sam Vecini's board. Now, it's come out as well since this trade went down that the Warriors could have included Jonathan Kuminga in this trade if they wanted to get both Schroder and Johnson. I personally think they made the right decision here, not going for that at the moment. I think I'm quite bullish on Kuminga. I think he's shown some real promise and development, and I certainly wouldn't be keen to give up on him just yet. But would love to hear from you guys with this trade, how it went down. Essentially, if you strip it down, let's go to a Cam Johnson for a Jonathan Kuminga straight swap. Would you do it if you're the Warriors? Don't know. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Would love to hear. In other news, off the back of this one, not quite as high profile, but a move nevertheless, the Miami Heat have agreed on a trade to send center Thomas Bryant to the Indiana Pacers. Now, in return, the Pacers will send a future second-round pick to the Heat. For the Pacers, they were absolutely desperate for for a backup centre, they've lost both Isaiah Jackson and James Wiseman to Achilles tendon injuries this season. The big man stocks were in absolute disarray. Brian's got plenty of experience, 8 seasons within the NBA. He's averaged 4 points and 3 rebounds in 11 minutes per game this season there for the Heat. But I think he'll certainly get opportunity in Indiana there to kind of increase those minutes, increase that responsibility, increase that output, and get back to some high-level ball, which he has shown in the past. In his debut the other night for the Pacers, he had 7 points, 2 rebounds, 1 block, and was 3 of 3 on shooting in just 11 minutes there. Pacers are a funny team. I feel like they're starting to rally a little bit, but I'm not sold on them. They've lost my trust for now. I think it's a good move nevertheless, but it's going to take a little bit of mending till I get back on the Pacers train. I was quite high on them for a while there. Really liked what they did with their roster. Feel like they've taken a bit of a backward step, and I think that's coincided with Tyrese Halliburton taking a bit of a backward step as well. But who knows? Hopefully, adding to those big men stocks, maybe that can be a bit of a catalyst for getting their season back on track. In other news, the South Bay Lakers, the Los Angeles Lakers G League team there, have signed Devontae Graham to a contract. Now, Graham, 29 years of age, averaged 5 points per game in 13 and a half minutes for the Spurs across the 2023-2024 season. If you're a long-time listener of the show, you'll know that Devontae Graham is a long-time favourite of the show. Let's go with that. But he's certainly taken a fall from grace. He's kind of been left in the wilderness for a while now. Like, it wasn't so long ago, in his second season in the league there for the Hornets, he averaged 18 points, 3.5 rebounds, 7.5 assists, and 1 steal per game. He's got a lot of work to do to get back anything close to those levels, but hopefully there in the G League, he can get some really good reps, some really good minutes, build that confidence back up, and hopefully get another real good dip at the NBA. Like, as I said, he's shown that he's got the talent. It just seems like a guy over the last couple of seasons that's really low on confidence. So maybe this could bring about the winds of change for him. Speaking of the Lakers, rumors have them in the market for another big man at the moment. Names that have been circling: Robert Williams from the Blazers and Jonas Valanciunas from the Wizards. These are kind of 2 big names that have been mentioned thus far. But the name that's really intrigued me, that's kind of been floated with the Lakers, is Nikola Vucevic. Now, the Lakers, Warriors, Pelicans, and Pistons are all interested in trading for Vuce off the back of reports that have come out. And you can't blame them. He's having a phenomenal season, an all-star level season, I believe, averaging 21 points, 9.5 rebounds, 3 assists, 59% from the field, and a phenomenal 47.5% from 3. I think any of these teams would certainly benefit with his signature. Would love to hear from you guys. Where do you think Vooch should go? Should he stay in Chicago? Or should he go to one of these other teams? The Lakers, the Warriors, the Pelicans, or the Pistons? Or maybe somewhere else? Let me know your thoughts, guys. I'm quite biased. As a Lakers fan, I certainly would love to see him head out to the purple and gold. I think it would ease a little bit of the burden there that's on Anthony Davis at the moment. Maybe slide him over to the 4, get Vooch in at the 5. I think that would be a really tidy move. Don't think the Pelicans, it makes much sense. Their season's over. For the Pistons, I think would be a tidy move. And that comes in with the news that I'm just about to mention, that they have waived, the Detroit Pistons, they've waived center Paul Reed. Not a big name player, not a household name. Across 12 games this season, he'd averaged a tick under 5 points and a tick over 2 rebounds in just 10 minutes per night. But essentially, this move was made to give Detroit a little more roster and salary flexibility. Now, they're a team that currently sit in that play-in mix. They'll potentially be hoping, another move or 2 around the edges, or even splashing out on a Vooch could make them more formidable in the postseason. They're a team, again, I'm quite high on. I really like what they did in the offseason, adding a little bit of experience there in Tim Hardaway, bringing back Tobias Harris. I think it almost feels like a little bit of a Houston Rockets 2.0. We've seen what they've done the last couple of years. They embraced the rebuild. They got some really young or quality young talent there in Jalen Green, Alperen Sengun, Jabari Smith, players like that. But then they complemented by bringing in some experience. Fred VanVleet, Dylan Brooks, those kind of players there. And it's taken their game to the next level. They're now a heavy hitter within the West. I think potentially Detroit could try and replicate something like that in the East. And who knows? As I said, waiving Paul Reed, that could open doors for them. I certainly hope it does. I'd love to see them a real force once again. In other little pieces, guys, the Boston Celtics are betting favourites to land Ben Simmons in a trade or buyout before the deadline. Now, I actually quite like this move. Simmons is a guy that I've lost a bit of faith in. It's going to take quite a bit of time to get him back on my side. Like as a fellow Aussie, always got a bit of a soft spot for him, but just need to see consistent output on court. I think this move, though, if he were to go to the Celtics, I actually think this would fit really well. With the shooting across their roster that they already possess, it isn't as necessary for him to have to put up shots and put up points. But I think he would do a really good job of facilitating these other heavy hitters in their ranks. I think the only problem would potentially be keeping those hometown fans on side. We know how ruthless they are in the Beantown. But yeah, something to keep an eye on. As I said, betting favourites at the moment to land Simmons. Big move there potentially to be made as the Nets look to offload the rest of their competent pieces. Pardon me. In other news, Jimmy Butler, his most likely trade destination is the Phoenix Suns, according to reports. Now, for him personally, they're certainly his first choice. It would involve a package centered around Bradley Beal and assets going back to Miami there. My question is, does this move the needle enough to make the Suns a legitimate championship contender? I don't know. I don't think so. Jimmy, he always seems to step up in the playoffs. He's, a average to good player in the regular season. He goes to borderline All-NBA MVP level in the playoffs. I just don't know, though, at 35 years of age, if he's got enough to help get them over the line. With Devin Booker, with Kevin Durant, with Tyus Jones, handling the rock predominantly, their success will depend on Jimmy hitting threes. Now, he's going at a tick under 36% this season. He'd have to get this up to at least 38%, I think, to make this viable. Because at the minute, he's essentially shooting the same as Bill. Like, the trade itself, I don't think makes that much sense. Like, it's not going to impact things too much. The only thing is they're going to get older. Bill there at 31 years of age, or 32, should I say. Jimmy at 35. The output is not too dissimilar. Yeah, I just don't think it's a necessary move. But maybe get Jimmy going to where he wants to go there in Phoenix. It might light a fire under him. Probably sees it as his last chance to potentially win a chip. He might just go balls to the wall there to get it done. So watch this space on that one. And just finally from our trade recap, guys, the New Orleans Pelicans are open to trading Zion Williamson. Now, it's the first time these reports have come out, open to trading Zion, but they're going to have to be blown away by an offer. Now, actually, according to Mark Stein and Jake Fisher there, to NBA pundit analysis there, they're open to trading anyone on this roster that's not Herb Jones, Yves Missy, or Trey Murphy. Now, this comes off the back of their 5-22 start to the season. It is over. I think last week or the week prior, it might have been last week, I kind of tried to paint a picture that there was a world in which they could, everything would fit nicely. They could maybe make a run at the play-in. That is not realistic at all. They're already 9.5 games back of 10th, and the injuries are still there. Like, I just think their season is effectively done. And I personally think it's quite sad, given how much potential this roster had heading into the season. A lot of people weren't quite as high on them. I was very bullish on the fact that I think they could be a really dominant regular season team there with Zion, with CJ, with DeJounte Murray, that big acquisition with Ingram, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones. I really liked the way their roster was constructed. But yeah, no team in the league has been hit harder by injuries. So it seems like it's a bit of a fire sale now. Be interesting to see with his injury-plagued career thus far, who would be interested in taking a chance on Zion? Like we've seen him when he's at his best, he's arguably one of, if not the most dominant player in the league. But unfortunately, we just haven't seen him on court enough. Very, very fascinating to see how that goes. And if the Pelicans look to move on from some of these other pieces, CJ in particular, Ingram, it could be a very different look Pelicans roster come February. So we'll certainly keep you updated on how that plays out. As I said, guys, the trade deadline, February 6th, that kind of recaps the week that was on that front. I'll be sure to keep you updated on all the news from the trades as they progress. So be sure to be following all those socials, and it's going to be a bumper period, no doubt. All right, let's move ahead to my MVP of the week.
Daily Dribble.
Okay, in this little segment, if you're new to the show, my MVP of the week can be a team, it can be a player, it can be essentially anything. And it's just something that's kind of, been best on for me this week. I've given it to the NBA Commissioner, Adam Silver. Now, again, if you're a long-time listener of the show, you'll know I've spoken quite extensively about how stagnant the All-Star game and All-Star weekend has become. As the All-Star game's essentially become a glorified shoot-around. But Adam Silver, he's decided to revamp it drastically this season in 2025. It'll be a new look concept that I'll run through now. A really big overhaul in this one. So how it'll work is 24 NBA All-Star players will be selected and divided into 3 8-player rosters. There will be a 4th team that'll be a Rising Stars champion team. And there'll be 4 honorary team general managers. There'll be TNT analysts Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, Kenny Smith, and Candace Parker. They'll kind of be the captains of all 4 of these respective teams. Charles Barkley, Shaq, and Kenny Smith will draft their rosters from the pool of 24 NBA All-Star selected players. 2 teams will meet in game 1, and the remaining 2 teams will meet in the other semi-final. Winning teams from game 1 and game 2 will advance to face each other in the championship final, game 3 there. With the winner of each game is dubbed the first to reach 40 points. So we've seen just, all-out shootouts, East versus West. We've seen, the target score endings, things like that, the Elam endings. This is essentially first team to score 40 points. You go through to the final. It's got, mixed reviews thus far. Now, each player on the championship winning team will receive $125,000. Each player on the second place team will receive $50,000. And each player on the third and fourth place teams will receive $25,000. Now, I think this will certainly help shake things up. It'll keep it fresh. It'll keep it exciting. That's why I've given my NBA MVP of the week to Adam Silver, because I applaud him for trying something new. As I said, it's grown stagnant. It's borderline become impossible to watch, I think, the All-Star game. I'm someone in life, in sport, in anything, I'm going out to win and play hard. And there is none of that being shown in the All-Star game the last couple of years. So hopefully by doing this, it's a shorter format, reaching 40 points. It shouldn't take that long for these players, the caliber they are. I think it'll increase the intensity. Now, players like, I think, was it Giannis and KD in particular have come out, or AD and KD, have come out voicing their displeasure. They don't think it'll work. They're not sure what the purpose of it is. I disagree. I think this will actually promote a little bit more competitiveness, and I think will make for a much more enthralling All-Star weekend. So Adam Silver is my MVP of the week there. I would love to hear from you guys what you think of this idea. Will it improve All-Star Weekend? Will it make it worse? Is that possible? I don't know at this point. But as I said, I certainly applaud Adam Silver for trying something new. And he's certainly, looked to do that in his tenure as commissioner. Just evidenced by the NBA Emirates Cup there. Another great initiative of his. People are always scared of something new. So we're creatures of habit. People might come around to this idea quicker than you think. So, yeah, certainly looking forward to seeing how that plays out. There you have it, guys. There wraps up a big episode of the Daily Dribble podcast. Approaching the festive season now. Certainly very excited about it. Excited to have a bit of a break, relax, unwind, spend some time with good people, good food. It's going to be a fantastic couple of weeks. With that, though, I'm currently in the process of ironing out my schedule for the next week or two, given that holiday period, how the shows will look. Ideally, I think I'll continue to have shows over the next fortnight or so. Day release might vary a little bit, hopefully not, but I'll certainly keep you guys updated on how that plays out. That being said, it is imperative, if you want to get the latest episodes as soon as they drop, be subscribed, be following wherever you listen to the show, whether that's listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or watching this one on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe there so you get them as soon as they drop. Nevertheless, that's enough rambling from me on this episode. I hope you all truly have a magical Christmas. Enjoy everything, food, the presents, spending time with loved ones. It really is, and I mean it, the most magical time of year. So certainly soak it up and enjoy it. That being said, have a great time. Enjoy everything Christmas has to offer, and I can't wait to speak with you all again next week. Till then, guys, remember, be good. And if you can't be good at it. See you guys.